Welcome to the newest edition of Common Threats. Have you ever stopped to wonder, what are the most common threats nowadays? It's a critical question because, as we all know, cybercrime is a constantly evolving threat. Cybercriminals are always developing new attack methods, which makes it incredibly challenging for us to detect and prevent their attacks. That's why it's absolutely essential that you remain vigilant and keep up with their latest methods. In this module, we're going to pull back the curtain. You'll see a live hacking demonstration where we will show you, step by step, exactly how a hacker can trick you into falling for an attack. By watching this demonstration, you'll gain a clear understanding of how cybercriminals deceive people, what the consequences are if you fall for their tricks, and most importantly, what you need to look out for to avoid any negative consequences. Let's begin by quickly reviewing some key terms and looking at a few actual cybersecurity incidents. Stay tuned because understanding these threats is the first step to protecting yourself. Phishing is essentially a trick. It's the process where cybercriminals try to deceive you into either giving them sensitive information or taking a dangerous action like clicking on a malicious link or downloading an infected attachment. They execute this by using emails or other forms of communication that are cleverly designed to look like they're coming from people or organizations you already trust. The goal is to make you react quickly without taking a moment to think first. Most often, cybercriminals use phishing as a means to steal money, sensitive data, or sometimes both. To illustrate just how effective this can be, the National Cybersecurity Center, which is part of the UK government, published a story about a financial services organization with 4,000 employees. A cybercriminal sent a phishing email to 1,800 of those employees. 50 of those emails actually managed to bypass the organization's email and security filters, and 25 were reported immediately to the IT department. However, 14 people still fell for the scam, and as a result, one system became infected with malicious software, which we commonly call malware. Fortunately, because other employees had reported the email, the infected computer was quickly contained, and the overall damage was successfully limited. Ransomware is a particularly nasty type of malware that essentially holds your computer hostage. It does this by blocking your access, encrypting your files, or even threatening to leak your sensitive data, all until you pay a ransom. The Microsoft Detection and Response Team documented a chilling incident where cybercriminals managed to break into an organization's computers. They didn't just steal passwords, they also stole the multi-factor authentication, or MFA codes. Just as a quick reminder, MFA is what verifies who you are by combining something you know, like a password, with something you have, like a code from an app. With this stolen access, the cybercriminals were able to silently spread across the organization's entire network. Eventually, they locked all of the organization's files and demanded a ransom payment. This attack caused a major disruption to the organization's operations and, unfortunately, took a very long time to fully clean up and recover from. Cloud-based systems are essentially computer resources that allow an individual or an organization to store and access files and even run computer programs, all remotely over the internet. Think of common examples you use every day like Gmail, Microsoft 365, and Salesforce, just to name a few. A global cybersecurity company, Palo Alto Networks, shared a powerful story that illustrates the danger here. They documented an incident where a cybercriminal illegally accessed an organization's entire cloud infrastructure. This compromise was so severe that it affected critical systems, including their email platform. The result? The organization's operations were completely brought to a standstill for an entire week. This incident clearly shows the potentially devastating impact of these kinds of attacks and underscores just how important it is for all of us to remain alert and vigilant. A session cookie is a small piece of text that a website sends to your web browser while you are visiting the site. Its main job is to remember that you are logged in or to keep track of your activity on that site. But here's the critical part. Just like any other data, a session cookie can be stolen. If someone manages to steal your session cookie, they can access websites as if they were you, and they can continue to do so until you are forced to log in again. For instance, some websites require you to log in every 24 hours. We saw a major example of this when the gaming giant Electronic Arts, or EA, had one of their employees fall victim to a cyber attack, and their session cookie was stolen. This theft allowed the cybercriminals to effectively impersonate that EA employee. From there, the criminals tricked a member of the IT department into granting them full network access. Once inside, the cybercriminals stole a massive amount of EA's data, including private computer code for their games and graphics engines, which they then used in an attempt to blackmail the company. In today's demonstration, James is our target. You can see he is ready with his work laptop, where his email is open, and his mobile phone is ready for multi-factor authentication. Stepping into the role of the attacker is Joe, who will be showing us the attack from his side. We begin with Joe, who is going to send a phishing email to James. The email Joe has crafted is about a critical security update for Microsoft Outlook. It's designed to look legitimate, referencing a real vulnerability to convince James that this is an urgent, real-world fix. Now, James receives the email. It looks very convincing, appearing to come from Microsoft, but if we look closely, the sender's email address is not an actual Microsoft domain. The email creates a sense of urgency, stating, "We are reaching out to inform you about a critical security vulnerability." James, as a user, would naturally want to patch this immediately. The email includes convincing vulnerability details and, at the bottom, an action required section in red. It urges James to apply the necessary security update as soon as possible by following a link to download and install the required security patch. For the purpose of this demonstration, James clicks the link. He is immediately taken to a website that looks exactly like the Microsoft Office 365 login page. James enters his email address, then his password. The system then prompts him for multi-factor authentication, and James approves the login on his mobile phone by entering the required number. This is a highly convincing attack. James is then shown a message that a new patch has been issued and will be applied within 24 hours, concluding by making him feel more secure for having taken the action. James is now convinced he did the right thing. However, back in the attacker's lair, Joe has successfully grabbed James's session cookie. This session cookie is a small piece of code that allows a user to stay logged in without re-entering credentials. Joe now takes this stolen session cookie and opens an incognito browser window. He navigates to the Microsoft login page. Instead of entering credentials, Joe opens his browser's console, pastes the session cookie, and runs the code. He then refreshes the page. You can now see that Joe has managed to log in as James and has full access to his account. Joe's next step is to go into James's OneDrive, which is where all of James's files are synchronized. Joe uploads a malicious file, in this case a file named test.exe, to James's documents folder. Now, Joe needs to trick James into running this file. Joe knows that James uses Microsoft Edge every morning to log into his services. So, Joe replaces James's Microsoft Edge shortcut with a malicious one that looks identical, but will execute the malicious program when clicked. The next morning, James opens his laptop and clicks on the Microsoft Edge icon to start his day. James has now inadvertently launched the malicious program. This program is ransomware. It can lock his computer and demand a payment, and it can also spread to other computers on the network. On James's screen, he is now looking at a ransomware message. Your computer's been infected with ransomware. All your files have been encrypted. The application includes a countdown timer to pressure him into making a payment. It is crucial to remember that this entire attack would not have been possible without James giving his password and MFA code to the attacker. always report ransomware or any suspicious activity immediately. This is another example of a phishing email, but in this exercise, we're going to focus on identifying the red flags we need to be aware of whenever an email lands in our inbox. This will help us identify the threat and take appropriate action. So, the first thing we'll look at is the sender. We need to make sure the email is coming from a legitimate, trusted source. In this example, we know that Google typically uses the email address noreply@accounts.google.com to communicate with us. However, this email was received from noreply@accounts.google.us. A casual user might not notice this small change, which is exactly what the attacker is counting on to make them think the email is legitimate. If the sender address is slightly off, we need to look at the other aspects to be absolutely sure whether it's real or not. Next, let's examine the tone. Here, the email is asking you to verify your account. More importantly, they are threatening that your account has an issue, making you feel concerned and pressured to resolve it immediately by verifying your account. This leads us to a big red flag. The link. They've given you a link to click on to verify your account. But when you hover your mouse over that link, the actual URL that appears is completely different from what is written in the text. This is a massive indicator of a phishing attempt. And the final red flag is the sense of urgency. They are pressuring you to act quickly, stating you must do it within 24 hours, otherwise your access will be blocked. This rush is designed to bypass your critical thinking and force you into making a mistake. With the knowledge you've gained today, you are now equipped to help prevent cyber attacks that could cause harm to both you and your organization. When you encounter emails that show those red flags we discussed, it is absolutely crucial to report them immediately. Remember, cybercriminals often cast a wide net, sending the exact same phishing email to multiple individuals within an organization. By swiftly reporting suspicious emails, texts, or any other online or even in-person activities, you can help shield your colleagues from falling prey to the same criminal schemes. The threats posed by cybercrime are very real, but the good news is that you can make a real difference. You are the first line of defense. By staying alert and immediately reporting any suspicious activity according to your organization's policy, you become an active part of our collective security. Thank you for your vigilance. That wraps up this edition of Common Threats. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more essential cybersecurity insights.